Well, the regular season is over and the playoffs are here, and it's the first edition of Jackals TV for this season for the playoffs. You see the Jackals there warming up on the ice on the right in their white jerseys. Today they will be taking on the Vipers on the left in their black Canucks-themed Halloween jerseys. This will be the Vipers' second game of the playoffs. Here you see they played the Showerhogs in Game 1 already, beating the Showerhogs 2-1. And in the other side of the bracket, the Blades Hockey Club beat the Minnesota Nighthawks 6-2. The Jackals will have a full lineup today, probably the first time that's happened all year long. All 15 players here tonight to play. Trevor starting in net, so no need to call up any spares, and the team will be running with 6 defense here tonight. Also, you can see on the bench, Coach Troy walking back and forth there out here tonight to coach the team. With that, let's see how it went. Let's go to the first period highlights. Jackals are going to get the first scoring chance of this game as Bob moves around that defender, comes in partially alone, puts the shot on net, it bounces right out to Chris Weeger, who has a yawning cage to deposit the puck into, but the goalie somehow gets his stick on it. Here we see that on the replay. Chris puts that back towards the goaltender and allows him to make the save on that, so it remains 1-0. Another offensive chance here. Rob's going to put that to Chris Stewart. He puts a shot on the low blocker side, but the goalie turns that to the corner. Now it's time for the Vipers to get a chance. They're going to push that puck up. It's going to be a 1-on-2, but the player's going to move around Bruce, cut in front of the net, dodge the poke check, and try to slide it in. Trevor gets his leg on it. Then there's another chance that the puck gets pushed out front before it gets covered up. Still 0-0. Here's Gary coming from behind his net through traffic. He's going to come up the middle, push the defender back, and then go around him, slide it on net, but the goalie makes the save. And then there's a collision in the corner there, but it remains 0-0. Vipers coming back the other way. They slip past Aaron. It's going to turn into a 2-on-1. That player gets it, goes up high, but Trevor knocks it down with the glove. A nice save to keep it scoreless. Jackals have the puck in the offensive zone again. Jer has it in the corner, and he throws that on the net. It catches the goalie up high, and it lands in front of the net. And as you can see, that Vipers player at center sneaking in behind Darryl, gets the stretch pass for the breakaway, moves in all alone, delays, and shovels that over Trevor's blocker. And the Vipers launch themselves up 1-0 after that breakout pass for the breakaway. Here we go. Jackals trying to get this one back as the period winds down. Here's Darwin, who's going to go end to end, and he's going to move in, and he's going to either catch a rut or something, but he ends up wobbling and falling into the boards, injuring himself in the process. And as we look at it on the replay, the player was coming in, and he starts to lose his balance before the player gets there, runs into the wall, knee first, and that's going to end up with a knee injury. Darwin does come back to play one more shift, but he's unable to continue beyond that, and so the Jackals are down to 5 defensemen. Unfortunate for Darwin here. Jackals do get one more chance to try and tie this at the end of the period. Gary puts that on net, and Chris Weeger in front tips it down, but it hits the goalie and goes harmlessly to the corner. So we're to the second period, 1-0 Vipers. Now they have the puck in the offensive zone, and that puck that gets tried to get put out front, it gets pushed off to the corner, and it gets put back out front to that player who sweeps it on net. And it looked like maybe it was going to sneak through the 5-hole area of Trevor, but he gets down low, and somehow that doesn't go through, and the save is made. It remains 1-0. And then off a face-off in the defensive zone, the Jackals are a work along the wall. Chris Duhar gets tied up with the Vipers player, pulls him down from behind, so that's a penalty. And so to the penalty kill, the Jackals go. Bob trying to retrieve that puck in the corner, can't quite get a handle on it, loses it there, and it gets pushed out front to that player who has lots of time to drag it and put it up over Trevor's glove, and that's a power play goal to stretch the lead to 2-0. And more penalty trouble. Watch Darryl. This is a ridiculous penalty, though. Darryl is on his way to the net front, and that player runs into him and then goes flying. And the referee deems that Darryl is the one that deserves the penalty in that sequence. So an undeserved power play for the Vipers, to be sure, but they have one anyway. And this player is going to come down the right side, makes one move there, and then comes in on net, tries to put it high, but Trevor stands tall and makes a save, and the Jackals do successfully kill that penalty. And then the penalty tide is going to turn. You see at center, Jared gets stumped as he's back checking by the Vipers player. So that's a power play for the Jackals, and they're going to be looking to get back into this. Darryl's going to put that back to David, who fans on it, but then does well to recover, push it back to Darryl, who's going to go low, slide it across to Jared, who puts it home past the goaltender. Nothing but net there, and no mistake, he puts it in, and it's a power play goal for the Jackals to cut the lead in half. In this next sequence, we're going to need all the banana emojis we can muster. First, Chris Weeger, who gets the puck tipped across the line. Aaron falls, shovels it to Rob. Now watch the bench there. Rob fall in front, and then Gary and David run into each other while making the change and fall. But all of that turns out okay. They don't end up with an odd man rush against. Vipers are down low and pushing that puck in front. Trevor makes the save. Now watch as those players engage as the puck moves back up ice. There's people engaged in front of Trevor there, and the play is going to get whistled dead as Rob brings it across the line, and the camera's going to pan back in front. And there was multiple penalties down low, one for each of the Vipers and the Jackals, but an extra penalty to the Viper player for putting hands to the face. So another power play for the Jackals as they're looking to tie this game up. On the penalty kill there, the Vipers make that pass across, but it's a bad pass, so it gets turned over to Aaron, weaves around that player, has all this space, so he's just going to come across the blue line and rip it, and it's going to go in, low glove side, a power play slap shot on the rush, and this game is reset. It's a brand new game here. It's 2-2. The Jackals are now looking to take their first lead of this game. Jared picks that puck up the center, goes around that player, moves it across to Chris Marshall, who puts it on net. There's the rebound, and Jared picks it up and sweeps it. And he had space on the far side, but it goes to the corner. Here come the Vipers, back the other way, 4-on-2, and they're going to delay, and they're going to find that player up high. He's going to backhand it towards the net. Nice save by Trevor. David can't play it, and another shot by that same player, and again, Trevor makes another save to keep it tied. Won't stay tied forever, though. The Vipers win this faceoff, and it gets put back out to the point. There's lots of time there to throw it towards the net, and I'm not sure what that hit, if it hit anything on the way through, but Trevor did definitely lose sight of it, and it slips by him, and it's now 3-2 for the Vipers. After all the penalties we'd seen earlier in this game, the Jackals are lucky not to have another one right here as Darryl steps up on that player, lays the body to him as the period ends, but they dodge the bullet and it stays even. So here we go to the third period. One face-off for the Jackals. David has it at the point, puts that towards the net. Rob tips it just over the crossbar. Shortly after that, here's another one face-off by that same line, still out on the ice. This time it's Darryl who's going to take it around the far side. Backhand pass across, and Aaron's over there. He gets a one-timer, but it goes wide. Jackals still on the attack, looking to retie this game. Darryl throws that towards the net. Rob tips it again, misses the net yet again, but while he's there, he gets hit from behind. But upon further inspection, we'll watch this a little closer. Chris Stuhar hits that other player first, and that launches that player into Rob. So both Chris Stuhar and the Vipers player both get penalties there. It remains 5-on-5. There's Rob with a steal. I don't know what that defender was doing, but he blew up and left the puck there. Rob goes in on a breakaway, most the backhand, but can't get it to go in. More efforts here by the Jackals to tie it. Chris Weeger moves that puck up to Jared, who slides it back to Chris, and he throws that towards the net. It wasn't the hardest shot, but there was space there, low glove side, and it goes just wide. Here comes Chris Weeger again. He's going wide this time, and he's looking for somebody in front. Finds Chris Marshall, who gets one swipe at it, tries again on the backhand, but the goalie covers it up, gets the whistle. So here Vipers are at the other end now, moving towards on the backhand. That puck's going to fall in front of the net. That player sweeps it towards the net. Didn't get enough mustard on it, but there was space down low, but ultimately Trevor does make the save, but that did look like a very dangerous chance for the Vipers. And here they come again. Backhand shot that's going to wrap around back to the point and get tipped back over to the far corner. And they're going to find that player in front. He tips it towards the net, but plunging out, getting the leg out in rapier-like fashion. Trevor does make the save to keep it a 3-2 game as the game is winding down here in the third. There's a turnover at the blue line, and the Vipers are going to eventually get this, and they're going to put it ahead, and it's going to turn into a 2-on-1. That's going to get slid over to that player in the high slot, and he puts it over the glove. A big goal for the Vipers to stretch this to a 2-goal lead with just 5 minutes left. It's now 4-2. Jackals a bit dejected, but not giving up. They're going to keep trying here with only a few minutes left as Johnny's going down towards the net. He gets the stick slashed out of his hands. So with about 4 minutes left, the Jackals are on the power play, looking to get back into this one. And Aaron's going to put this back to Darryl. He's going to walk all the way in. He sees Rob coming back door, and he gets good wood on it, but the goalie gets across, makes a save. It keeps it a 2-goal lead. 2.5 minutes left. The Jackals call a timeout to strategize. So we'll see how well that planning works. The Jackals have an extra player on the ice. Darryl does well to get back hard and keep that puck in. Bob puts it over to Chris Marshall, who shoots it and misses in that short side. That's going to wrap around and come dangerously close to getting out, but Bob saves it again just after Darryl had saved it the last time. Johnny has it. He puts it to Darryl, who gives it back to John, who loses it, but then sweeps it wildly towards the net. There's a scramble in front, and Chris Marshall comes in from the weak side, undetected, to shovel that into the net, and the Jackals are going to make a game out of this one. It's now 4-3 with still about 2 minutes left to go. Nice toe save there by the goalie, but he can't do anything about the rebound. So now we pick it up with just a minute and a half left in this game. Bob puts that a little high, but John does well to knock it down, and Chris Marshall holds up. And you're going to see Darryl coming in off the bench for the extra attacker again. John sees him coming late, and he throws that towards the net. It goes through the 5-hole, and somehow the Jackals have come back in the last 2 minutes with 2 goals here to tie this one up. It's now 4-4. And that takes us to overtime of this playoff game. Off the initial faceoff, Darryl sweeps in on a tie draw, picks it up. He's going to go in and get pushed off to the right. He's going to exchange the puck with David, who's going to pick that up off the wall. And he's going to go around in behind the net, and he's going to find Jer up front, who taps it just wide past the right side post. A little bit later, there's Darryl. He's going to try to give it back to David, but instead, it's going to go right to the Vipers player. Now it's 3-on-1 here in overtime. They're going to go wide with it to the right, look to set up that player in the high slot, and they put it to the backhand rather than the forehand. Credit to that player. He gets good wood on it, gets a shot on net, but Trevor comes up with the big save. And then the puck gets pushed the other way, so David races onto it, goes in on a breakaway, can end this. He had space there, but it bobbles just off his stick, and he loses control. And then it's going to go back out to Darryl, puts it back across to David, who has another chance to end this game, but it gets tipped off his stick and just goes wide. So now it's down at the other end, and the Vipers carelessly try to throw that in front, and that's going to be a turnover. And Gary's away to the races, and he gets pushed up there by Chris Marshall. Gary's going to wait it out. He's going to go around behind the net, and a neat little tricky pass out front to Chris Marshall, who's coming in late, and he taps that home past the goalie for his second of the game. He got that goal to make it 4-3, and here he gets the winner in overtime, and the Jackals have won their first playoff game of the year, 5-4 in overtime after a big comeback late in the third period, down by 2 goals. An exciting outcome and really setting up the Jackals for hopefully future success here in the playoffs. So let's have a look at the stats for that game. You see Chris Marshall at the top of the table, 2 goals and an assist, including the overtime winner. Darryl also having a big end of the game there with a goal, 2 assists, and John with 2 assists on those 2 tying goals at the end of the third as well. So now let's have a look at the scoreboard now. These extra 2 games have been played. And you see the Jackals with a win, and the Vipers now with a win and loss, and the Showerhogs with their 1 loss. And the Jackals will play the Showerhogs in their next game. You see the Blades having 2 wins so far. They've locked up first place in the other division. The Nighthawks and the Rare Rockets will be playing to see who will finish second in that division and who will take on the division champions on this side of the bracket. With a win, the Jackals will be first place in their pool, and a loss outside of overtime, they will be knocked out and the Showerhogs will advance. So that's a big game next Wednesday to see who will advance to the semifinals, and we'll be here to show you what happened. See you then.